This is my garage, and it's full of weird, obscure, and oddball classic cars that I refuse to drive in the snow, and some of which, I really couldn't drive anyway, but that's besides the point. The point is, it's January, and I live in Ohio.
Son of a bitch.
So I made a mad dash for Facebook Marketplace and searched up cars that were $500 or less. And as it turns out, you cannot get a winter beater for under $500 anymore. Those days are dead and gone, which is a real shame. Now, I did come across this 2001 Honda Civic, but unfortunately, it needs an engine and doesn't have a titular? A titular? It was the same story over and over and over again. Then I remembered this photo, which was sent to me by a very distraught friend after the hood had come flying open on the interstate, smashing the windshield out and leaving a trail of decimation. This car was in pretty rough shape, but it had a lot of things that I thought were pretty cool, and VR6, especially 24-valve VR6s to me, are kind of the king of the crop when it comes to the Mark IV GTI.
Woo! $500 got me a 24-valve, 6-speed, totaled Mark IV Golf GTI. Wait until you hear this thing. It's awful. It's so bad. Cowabunga, baby, let's do it. Wow, it's idling. Oh, it is so bad. The alternator right off the rip, not working. Well, would you look at that? Oh my God, why did I buy this thing? What is wrong with me? So, for whatever reason, it's idling pretty well right now, but it refuses to rev. The engine light somehow is not on, which is absolutely incredible, all things considered here. And the fact that it barely runs is also pretty remarkable. I have no idea what's going on with this car. Absolutely no clue. Oh my God. This thing is loud. It's weird. I'm conflicted on this one. It runs really bad and breaks up terribly, but it's idling great right now. So I feel like it's just an electrical issue somewhere. Now, okay, I'm gonna turn it off. Here's what I'm planning. This car needs a ton of work. It sat for 4 or 5 months at the body shop, just like it sits here. No hood, just like this. I'm gonna have the windshield replaced. I'm gonna find a new hood for it. I'm gonna pull the engine and transmission out, inspect all the wiring, change seals, gaskets, timing chains, tensioner, just a ton of stuff, the crack pipe, so much stuff. And then we'll kind of reevaluate what's going on with it after the parts canon. I think this car can be a good runner. I think that there's a lot to work with here. It's not very rusty, and I think for $500, it's probably the best thing I could have gotten, all things considered, which is kind of shocking and maybe a little bit hard to believe. But I really think that there's a lot to work with here, and plus, it's a VR6, and it runs, and it runs. It runs. Yeah, it runs.
first thing that I did was call Safelite to have the windshield replaced. They sent their tech Nate literally the next day, and I think he had it replaced in like 45 minutes, which is just mind-blowing to me. It would have taken me a whole day to cut that thing out and not ruin the sill that it sits in, and it was just well worth the money. With that said, it also instantly doubled my budget because replacing that windshield cost almost as much as the whole car did.
Now, there has been a development since a couple of days ago. It now has a primary O2 sensor code. So I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it's just bad, or the wiring is a little faulty between that and the ECU. I pulled the spark plugs and did a compression check, and they're between 130 and 140 a cylinder, so that's right around 9.5 bar. So totally within spec. I think the lower limit is 7.5 bar, so we're quite a bit above that. This engine is fine. I mean, all of the mechanical aspects of it seem just fine. So I think it's finally time to pull the engine out and finally get our eyes on the prize here, the 24 valve BDF 2.8 liter VR6. Really the only reason that I bought this car. I think I can start here with this grill. Oh wow, it actually has the original pole. Nobody lost it. I think more than not, these just end up breaking, and well, they get substituted for other things, and I don't remember. Oh yeah, the grill is just falling out. That's fine. Oh, that one just spins. That's not good. Yeah, there's lots of missing hardware in this bumper. Oh yeah, she's coming right off. Oh wait, there might be a screw in this. There is a screw in this side. Yeah, that is not the right screw for that. Yeah, okay. I think that's one of the biggest problems with these Mark IVs, especially at this point in their life. They've all been hot rodded, and they've all been, yeah, that screw was just completely cross-threaded, completely ruined. Who worked on this car, man? It's fucking, oh, it's a nightmare. Of course, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. All right, should probably jack it up, get to the coolant drain on the radiator, and start draining the fluids. And I understand things look pretty bad right now, but it's actually going quite well. I just got to pull this out the rest of the way, and we should be home free. I got to find my gloves. I just had them. Engine and transmission is out of the car, so things are progressing in the right direction, I suppose. At this point, I'm gonna pull the engine harness off of it and then get all, as much ancillary stuff as I can off of the engine, and then take it and clean it up. So degrease the entire thing, scrub it the best I can, pressure wash it, get all the grease off of it, then we'll bring it back, separate the engine and trans, take off the timing covers, inspect and replace, and then kind of work our way back together, clean up. I might even paint the block because the back is super rusty and really ugly, but we'll see. I have a ton of parts coming over the next few days, so we'll just start piecing this thing back together. it's finally time to pull the covers and get our eyes on what's going on inside of this VR6. I'm expecting to see maybe a little bit of slop in the chains and some ridges worn into the guides. Apart from that, I don't think we're gonna find anything really wild. Now, the other thing I wanna look at is if this thing had oil changes. It does have 150,000 miles on it, so that's plenty of time for people to neglect it and for it to really go to shit. Whoa, okay. It's pretty dark in here. Little sludgy. I've seen worse. If this is any indication, look how dark the underside of this valve cover is. It's pretty ugly. I think Charles and Paul's 24 valve was worse than this. They had a $500 engine and transmission that they bought sort of sight unseen, didn't know anything about it, tore it open, and it was actually worse than this. But this isn't super great. It's pretty much as I suspected in here. It's filthy, it's dirty, it stinks, but it didn't jump time. Everything is lined up. Now I say that, the upper timing chain that goes from the intermediate shaft to both cams is stretched pretty significantly. Probably like half a link, almost a whole link off, which is wild, but it's definitely not out of time. And the phasers probably were making up for that difference in the chain stretch. Apart from that, everything's original. It has not been touched. So this was not a minute too soon to do this chain job. So yeah, status quo. Now I'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll pull the oil pan off and tear everything apart, clean everything, give it the best cleaning that I can. And then we'll go back together with the new chains, guides, reseal the covers, and put it all back together. And we should be ready to put this back in the car by about tomorrow evening. So fingers crossed. Wrapping up a few things here with the engine harness, and just like that, this thing is an intake manifold away from being completely reassembled, which is pretty exciting. New chains, guides, seals, gaskets, a brand new rebuilt alternator, a relatively new AC compressor, and a new throw-out bearing / slave cylinder, amongst other things like the crack pipe, the thermostat housing, and so on and so forth. This thing's pretty good. I'm very excited about it. I'm feeling pretty good about this thing. It looks great. It's a lot better than it was when I started, and that's what matters most. And I think that concludes this episode on the winter beater. In the next episode, we'll put this car back together, find a hood, see if it runs right, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll have it inspected and I can actually put this thing back in service. So that's the ultimate goal, right? I didn't spend all this money and time for nothing, or maybe I did. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Is that gas? Oh God. Oh God, is that gas? Sure smells like gas.